So today I want to talk to you about this one simple concept and really want to focus on this one key here, right? Healthy, active living. And I want to use that to ask you this question. Who is in control of your life? When you think about who is control, I want you to think about a triangle. I want you to look at it as a big triangle. And at the end of each of these points of the triangle, there are three letters. There is a T, there is an F, and then there is an A. Okay, so if I do that, I'm going to just draw this out for you so you can actually see what I'm talking about. It's a T, F, and an A. So the ideal triangle is TFA. TFA. The T stands for thinking. The T stands for thinking. The F stands for feeling. The A stands for acting or action or outcome or behavior. Right? That's what we get. So we have a thinking that generates a feeling that creates an outcome. So a thinking that generates a feeling that determines an outcome. Okay? So based on how we think, we feel, we act. Okay? In other words, this is think, feel, and act. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, I want you to also grasp this concept also. In the middle of your triangle is an O or a circle, represents a steering wheel. So all of these emotions and stuff that are happening, let me also make sure I add this in there too, is emotions that are in control. The goal here is to ask you who, let's go back, who is in control? Is it you what you think? Is it your thinking, or is it your feelings and emotion that determines that outcome? And if you get an outcome that you don't like, what do you do? So what I want you to do, I want you to focus on this steering wheel on the inside here. If you're not having a good day, I want you to go back and I want you to say this with me. There's a winner at the wheel. There is a winner at the wheel. What do I simply mean? So that's the steering wheel. And I want you to imagine that the steering wheel has something on the inside here. What I tell people to do is I want them to stand up and I want to raise their arms just like that. Stand up and raise their arms like that. When they stand up with a smile and raise their hands, then what's going to happen? Let me make that head a little bigger, bigger eyes, and a bigger smile. When they raise their hand and I take this one little symbol and I move it over here, I get what's called like that. First leg, that's the person inside there, and that makes a W. You are at the center of your decision. You are at the center of your decision. So these are both your arms going up here. And I want you to imagine with me, you threw your hands up. So from here, this is you. This was you, the steering wheel. You're steering your life. And so therefore, you need to say to yourself, there is a winner at the wheel. And then this is the same steering wheel. I'm going to bring it up here and turn it into a person and blow it up. And then that's you with your hands up like that. So when you think of the steering wheel, I want you to think that you are a winner at the wheel. And then a winner turns into this stick figure, which goes into here, that makes a W. You are at the center of your outcome. Does that make sense? Now, I want you to drop down here with me now. We're here. Most people spend their life looking in that thing right there. That's called the rear view mirror. They're looking at their mistakes. They're looking at things that didn't go right. They're looking at everything that happened in the past. They're looking back here. That's where the attention is. They're all staring back here. But the crazy thing is, they're driving this way. They're driving forwards. They're all going this way, but they're not focusing on where they are going, right? So they're going here, but they're coming from here. See, they're coming from here, but they're going here. What they're supposed to be doing, you want to look in the windshield. You want to look in the windshield, but you want to glance. You want to glance back, but I want you to look forwards. I want you to glance back, but I want you to look forward. Glance back means several things. When you glance back, you just want to glance back to say, man, here's where I'm coming from. Here's what I have been. Here's what I have been through. I have been through a lot. I have been through a lot. Okay? This makes me resilient. The process of this is my resiliency. Okay? So here, this, what I've been through, where I'm coming from, determines what I have been through. And what I have been through could be a whole lot. And if I've been through a whole lot, that means that I am resilient to get through it. But once I get through, the process or the mindset that gets me through there is resiliency. Now, let's go back over there. Remember, you're driving. You are a winner at the wheel. And when you're driving, you should be going forwards, but only glance backwards. If you look backwards, you will lose your focus. You will lose your focus. And if you lose your focus, then you will lose your locus. Your locus, your center of locus. Okay? Focus is the direction. Locus is your control. We call it the locus of control. So you want to focus so you don't lose your locus of control. All right? So let's get back to it now. So we're saying that the ideal is a triangle like that has three parts. Thinking generates a feeling or emotion, and then our action is the outcome that's a result of the feeling of how we feel. So we want to think, feel, and act. But what if we're in a situation where we're only worrying about our feelings? We're trapped in our feelings. It's all emotional. All emotional. If we got emotional about what we're doing, then what's going to happen? Then the actions or the outcome would be a result of what we think. Okay? If it's a negative outcome, if we got an A minus, then what do we need to do? What do we need to do here to make sure that we are in control of the steering wheel? We need to do something. So we need to rotate our triangle. We need to rotate our triangle to get ourselves back to this ideal state. Okay? So if we're here, F-A-T, fat, that's a big fat lie somebody's telling you. So what we need to do is to be able to rotate our triangle, but we're going to go through a series of things before we can actually get back to the thinking, unless we shortcut it. So here now, we rotate the triangle, and now the T is at the bottom. So we're not in control of our action because we're only focusing on our feelings, on our emotion. So what we need to do, we need to get back to thinking. But before we can get back there, a lot of times we have an outcome or an action that we are not proud of, and it's negative more time than any. So if you have a negative outcome, a negative action, a negative behavior, you need to figure out how to get back to this T. So what we have now, we have a dominant feelings or emotional situation that is generating a specific outcome, that's generating a specific behavior, that's generating a specific action. So this feelings or this emotion, this emotional state is when we have a FAT, which is a big fat lie. So how we feel, we're going to act. Okay? And a lot of times when we act, there are two outcomes. There are two outcomes. We're either justified by what we did, or we have remorse for what we did. We're either justified and we keep going with the behavior, or we have a remorse and decide to change the behavior. So when you look at the upside down triangle, what you see is an F and an A. That means we're being ruled by our emotions, and then the action is produced based on how we feel. And so thinking suffers. Does that make sense? So what we need to do is to rotate that triangle, rotate that triangle, rotate that triangle so we can get back to this state. That's the ideal state where our thinking governs our feelings and emotions, and our feelings and emotion generates or creates an outcome that we really are liking. That would be an ideal. So we got an A plus. Okay, that's what we want. We want A plus. At the end of the day, we want an A plus. But let's say, for example, you're saying, Andrew, what if my thinking skips and I bypass my emotions and then go right to an action? What can I do? If my thinking is causing me to act, I said before you act, you're always going to have an emotional response, and that emotional response will lead to an outcome. The purpose of thinking here is to help you to bypass this A and go back here, so we can actually go back up here like that to get back to our thinking. So our thinking is happening there, and what I want to do is circumvent my A, so the outcome, and so I can address my feelings and emotion to make sure I do not have a negative outcome. All right, so let's recap. So we're saying that the ideal state for us to be in is that TFA: think, feel, and act, because my thinking is going to control my feelings and emotion, and then my feelings and emotion generate an outcome, action, or behavior. But in order to do that, all of this process means that you are driving your destiny, and you're at the steering wheel of opportunity. Let me say it again. You are driving your destiny or destination. Okay, let me put destiny here. You're driving your destiny. All of us, whether you like it or not, are in control of your destiny. Okay, so you're driving your destiny, and the goal of driving your destiny is to make sure you get to that outcome or that location or that destination where you need to be. So in life, the road that you're on, it really is about trying to make sure you understand who is at the wheel. Who is at the wheel? There is a winner at the wheel. Winner at the wheel. You are the person that's in control of your destiny. So when I do this, you want to make sure you put you are in CTRL. You are in control of your destiny. And how you think will determine how you feel, and how you feel will determine how you act. So this is my thinking. Thinking is my input. The thinking is my input. The feeling is my process. So this is how you process it. So you think it, you input it, you process it, and then you process it, and then it gives you an outcome. Does that make sense? So thinking, I input. Feeling, I process this. I process how what's happening, the feedback from my environment and the stimulus around me. So I think it, I give an input, then I have what's called the feel or emotion. That's me processing my thoughts. And then after that, then I have an outcome based on what I was feeling. But you can steer that direction by making sure that the action that comes out is positive. That's what you want. And if it's positive, here what's going on. If it's positive, it's going to keep going this way and back up to thinking. And the process continues. The process continues. So come down here with me. Okay, the process continues. That's my T. This is my F. This is my A. So the ideal is to do that. That's the ideal. That's what I want. I want my thinking to be in control. So that means my thinking, positive feeling, positive outcome. That's what I want to do. Okay? So some people may say, well, Andrew, what if if I'm thinking really good and I can skip the feeling and go to an outcome? I say, yeah, that's possible, but it's just a person right here who is having an action or an outcome. Before you can have an outcome, there's got to be an input, and the input has to be processed. So it's rare when you go from thinking to outcome right here. You have to process it. Same thing like a computer. If it's a computer, I type in a keyboard, right? If I type on the keyboard, that is an input. I input that information into the computer. And then we have what's called a processor, right? So the processor will process the information that you put inside the computer, and then it will spit it out as an outcome. The outcome is what you see on your screen. That's what you see on your screen. So there has to be an input. Don't tell me you just do something because you weren't thinking. You were thinking. It is the feelings. It is the feelings. Some people say that you're acting irrationally, you're acting emotionally. It's because F is in charge. When F is in charge, you have this. You have an emotional state. That emotional state leads to a negative or irrational outcome. Does that make sense? And if you have an irrational outcome, remember I say if your action is going to come out to two parts. After you have done a feeling, you're going to have two outcomes. You're going to have either be justified by what you do, or you're going to be remorseful. You're justified. Let's say you did something that was good. You're going to continue to do good because you got a positive reinforcement, right? So if it's good, you're going to get a reinforcement right in here. You have a reinforcement. So re means to repeat. So I'm going to enforce that. I'm either going to keep doing what I'm doing, or if I feel bad about it because I'm remorseful, then I'm going to try to change that to see if I can get a different outcome. Does that make sense? So when you take an action or an outcome, you will be justified or you have remorse. Remorse, I'm changing it because I am not satisfied. I am not happy with the overall outcome. Does that make sense? And so what I need to do, if I am acting out of A, that means this is my triangle. I got A, T, and then I got F. I got A, T, and F. So that means if my acting is in control, then what's going to happen? If my acting is in control, then I need to make sure that I recognize that there's going to be two outcomes. Outcome number one, outcome number two. And one is either justifying what I did from the outcome, or it's going to cause me to change. When I change, the only way that's going to change based on it is after I process it through my thinking. It's going to be done here. I have to start thinking, and then I want to process to see if it's going to be justified, or am I going to keep doing what am I doing? I'm going to change it right here before I get back to feeling. Because if I don't change it right here, this is my opportunity right here. This is my opportunity right here. This is my opportunity to impact my feelings. So that means if I use this opportunity of change, I can change how I feel. And if I change how I feel, then I will change how I act. If I change how I feel, if I change how I feel, if I change how I feel, I can now not just change, I can determine how I act. Does that make sense? That's what I want you to think about. Okay? So just remember, I'm going to zoom out so you can see all of that mess on the board. And then I'm going to get right back inside here. And I want to ask you, who is in control? Who is in control? If you're in control, then you need to remember there is a winner at the wheel. The winner at the wheel makes a W. That's it, the W. Those are your arms going up. Who is in control? Winner at the wheel. Winner at the wheel. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew E. Guy with Work Life Enrichment Coaching Consultant. AndrewGuySpeaks.com, and helping you to win where you are. This is the process. This is the process that leads to greater resiliency in life, so you can be in control of your life. Take care of yourself. Until then, feel free, if you'd like to have this course presented to your employees, to your team, need you to reach out to me at AndrewGuySpeaks.com. That is AndrewGuySpeaks.com. AndrewGuySpeaks.com. Go there and fill some information out, and one of our teammates will get back to you as soon as possible. If you are in the educational field and you want me to come out and do a lesson plan on mental well-being and resiliency. Mental well-being and resiliency. So let me just make sure I put this here. The only way that we can stay in control of the car that we are driving is if we have resiliency. If we are resilient. Resilience is what keeps the car on the road. Remember, you're steering the wheel. The winner at the wheel. It's not your driving skills that keeps the car on the road. It's your resilience. It's your resilience. And it is the mode. It is the mode of resiliency that keeps the actual car on the road. By the way, since I'm here, let me just go ahead and just clarify a few things. Resiliency is not your ability to bounce back. Resiliency is your ability to remain consistent. Resiliency is your ability to remain consistent. That means you adapt to make changes so that your outcome or your destination will be exactly what you expect. Take care of yourself and have yourself a fantastic rest of the day. If you're in the educational field and you'd like me to come and do a mental well-being coaching, I want you to go to resilientlearnersforlife.com. resilientlearnersforlife.com. Until then, take care.